Yes! Hello today. Look! It is again the wall. We are back. I am ready for the top 10. That's right. Unlike the previous video, we are finally doing a top 10 because we can. Cha-ching! I just give the intro.
Welcome to my channel, where cringy intros are cringy.
So, like I said, we're doing a top 10 video for the best player versus environment units in the game of Dragon Ball Legends, otherwise known as PvE. This is usually events like Ultra Space Time Rush, Just Try to Surpass Me, which is still on currently as of the starting and filming of this video. It might not be out by the time I release this video, but it is out currently at the time that I'm recording said video. Wow, time is weird. But we're going to be going over the 10 best units, and we're not looking at boost units, although boost units can be considered if they are actually genuinely good over the course of time and not just for their particular events. Now, with that being said, we're going to be looking at obviously the top 10 best units that have always worked super well within the scope of Just Try to Surpass Me, or in general, any mode in this game. So, as a result, let's just get started. And one big disclaimer before we start, we will not be considering co-op, as I treat this as a particularly different format and is definitely different than your general player versus environment situations. And at number 10, we have Future Gohan. Oh boy, if there's anyone that is meme-worthy, it is this dude, because, and not in a bad way, mind you, it's just like, I think of specifically this one meme that one of my viewers mentioned. It kind of went, I'm paraphrasing, kind of went like this. Just try to surpass me. It's on. Gohan. Oh boy, here we go again. And that's actually true, because this dude is constantly being used in that particular event. Why? Because when he dies, and I'm not kidding you, this is why he is used, you kill him off, and then you reap the benefits of his death. It's kind of like a sacrifice, so almost like a ritual. We're barbaric. We should be ashamed of ourselves. But overall, what does this guy actually give us that makes him so good? Well, first off, and actually only off, realistically, when he dies, he gives you card draw speed up by 1, which is amazing, because that just means Rising Rush Simulator 2.0 has begun. And on top of that, this guy also gives a great boon to key recovery. So overall, you're getting better key recovery as you play. So yeah, he's really good. And on top of that, if by chance the units that he is buffing on the board are future units, well, they do get an extra buff, which is a 15% to damage for, well, the rest of the game. And that is obviously good. Now, why is this guy 10th on my list and not maybe, let's say, 5 or something else? It's because I consider this dude to be like the gatekeeper of these lists. He can't really come off of this list unless they do something drastic and Just Try to Surpass Me or in other events to make him irrelevant. But until they do that, he essentially will always take the number 10 spot, as his only purpose in life is to die, which is kind of sad if you think about it, but it does make sense considering the origins of this unit. So, sorry, dude. You're just here to die. But at the same time, he can't not be 10th, because he is what instigates a lot of these other units to be really good. Not necessarily all of them, but most. And as a result, this dude has to be at number 10, and will be at number 10 most likely for a long time. And at number 9, we have Super Saiyan Blue Future Vegeta, aka known as the poster child of Just Try to Surpass Me. This dude is, well, he's good. He's actually good. So you might be wondering, why is this guy 9th on this list, but the guy that enables everyone is 10th? Well, and hear me out, he also is a gatekeeper of sorts, but in a different way, but also in some ways, the same ways. So what does this guy do? Well, first off, he's got a fantastic blue card that, if you haven't watched my Extreme Co-op video for the top 5 best units, well, his blue card is really good in literally any format that you play. He buffs either a buddy or a teammate by 20% for their blue damage, so that's really good. But on top of that, this guy buffs his teammates whenever he uses a strike or a blast card, and on top of that has a green card that destroys the AI opposing, cards in hand, I think 2, roughly. And on top of that, he powers himself up. On top of that, he's got a main ability that gives him a blue card, heals the team when he dies, removes some Dragon Balls from the opposing AI when he dies, and on top of that, buffs the entire team by 35%, and it cannot be cancelled. So he's kind of like Gohan, except he's actually a usable unit that can actually deal damage. So, unlike the previous unit, this guy actually can do stuff. Later down the line, he's less useful, so you can just sack him right off from the beginning, or if you actually need him to sack some units before he gets himself sacked, you can do that too. So yeah, he's a fantastic unit, and overall deserving of the number 9 spot, and only one-upping Gohan because of his actual usability beyond death. And at number 8, I was gonna show hands, but then I messed up the numbering, so yeah, it doesn't matter. Number 8, we got Zenkai 7 Super Ssj Bardock. And yes, Zenkais are going to be on this list. Deal with it. It's Dragon Ball Legends. Half of the game is at this point Zenkais, which is not a bad thing, but also Legends Limited characters. It's just the whole thing. But anyways, let's talk about him. So he's at number 8 because, well, he's a Super Saiyan. He gives critical rate ups to all of the teammates when he switches. He is insane. Super Saiyans make short work of these events. Like, actually make short work of these events. It's insane. And he has to be on this list as a result. One thing to note about this dude, despite being as good as he is at number 8 for a reason. And that is, as much as he's a very solid unit, has a lot of great passives, can heal himself, and do a whole bunch of things, increase card draw speed, and do that again, and get an ult, and restore Vanish Gauge, and get Ki, and a lot, and increase stats, obviously. If the rest of your team dies, or if he dies, generally speaking, you usually have to restart, because if he dies or he has no team, that critical rate buff goes away. And that just makes him a really good unit in PvP, but that's about it. In PvE, you have things called timer counts that you need to complete by, so challenges, and he won't be doing that if he's on his own, which is just unfortunate because that just means that you want to be playing a either near perfect game or generally a 2-on-1 or 2-on-3 type of game at the very minimum. So as a result, he has some things holding him back, and it sounds like I'm saying a lot of negative things, but that is because they are true. But don't get discouraged, because if you do have him in a whole bunch of Super Saiyans, then I highly recommend him and whatever Super Saiyans you got. He's a solid unit, and as a result, there's really no reason to have to use the first 2 on this list if you have Super Saiyans. Or you could do variations. Overall, he's just a great unit, and just, take my word for it. And at number 7, we have our poster boy, God Shallot, for the game of Dragon Ball Legends. Yeah. Well, anyways, this dude is actually a phenomenal unit. He gets buffed by the very first 2 units on this list if they die. So he is a farming simulator like ×2 because of his green card, so he can actively get a second card draw speed. On top of that, he's just overall a tanky unit. And this dude can solo. And that's right, I'm saying it. He can solo Just Try to Surpass Me events. I've done it. I've shown it. It's on YouTube if you want to find that. I did hard mode, and I did it with just one Shallot and only one Shallot. No boost units. No units boosting him. He was on his own. And yeah, it was very, very easy. I don't think I took damage, and if I did, I took like maybe one tap shot or one tap attack. So yeah, he's solid. He's a really good unit. I mean, I can tell you about the plethora of things he does. He has a teachable blue card, so if you want to put any feint cards with his blue card, you can do that. If you want to increase damage, you can do that. If you want to increase his damage over time, you could do that. If you want to buff himself, you can do that. If you want to he's just a really good unit. There's nothing really bad to really say about him. Again, the only issue with this dude is for the first 10 seconds, he's got to, not be transformed. And that's an issue. But if you play with the drift, or what we call the float step, or the standing menacing JoJo, drift. That's cool. You do that well. If you want to do overcharge, you can do that. Sidesteps, you can do that. He's just really good in any format you play him in. So except for PvP, that's his worst format currently. He can still be played, just not as efficiently. But yeah, overall, he's just a fantastic unit. There's not really much bad to say about him, and he's just solid. And as a result, he takes the number 7 spot on this list. Now, you could argue that Bardock should be higher than him on this list, and you would be right, except for the fact that Bardock can struggle to beat an event on his own, whereas this guy has no color disadvantage and no color advantage, so as a result, he can just go through any unit with reasonable damage no matter what. And as a result, I honestly believe he takes the higher spot. And at number 6, we have Zenkai 7 Super Saiyan 2 Trunks. That's right, we're back with more Zenkais and a blue one, because, yeah, I did say number 6, right? He is number 6. So first thing you gotta know about this dude is he is a great last man standing unit. He is a man too, so there you go. As opposed to being a whim, he's not a female, so yeah, he's the last man standing unit. Why do I do this to myself? But yeah, so he is a great last man standing unit. He just has overall great buffs. He's able to switch with his team quite effectively. He synergizes extremely well with the Death Han or the Super Saiyan Blue Future Vegeta, so that's already really good. Unfortunately, he does not synergize with Bardock, but he is still better than Bardock as he can be used as a standalone unit or as a team player. And I do factor those in when I do make these lists or consider these lists. So one thing that's great about him is in particular setups, he is extremely optimal. And one of those setups is with the Death Han and him and one other future/hybrid unit. Now, whichever one you choose to take, that's totally up to you. That's okay. Just be aware that he is sometimes optimally used when only Death Han is dead and the other unit is still alive. Despite being a great last man standing unit, he does get the majority of his buffs with only one death and not more in player versus environment modes. This kind of changes a little bit when it's player versus player, as you can't always control those scenarios, so you just kind of work through it. But the nice thing is, because of his pseudo last man standing ability, he's just overall a great threat. On top of that, fantastic main, has the ability to heal, strong blue card, and you just have a great package that has extra card draw speed and is just overall phenomenal. The only real reason why he is only at number 6 and not anywhere up is that the next 5 units not only synergize with Death Han, but they just have better control and flow of the entire game. On top of that, whether they're easier to get or alternatively just overall stronger in terms of stats or better to use, this dude, despite all that, is still so good that you might as well just, use him if you have him. He's really just that good. And at number 5, we have Zenkai 7 Bakayaro Goku. So yeah, he's back. He's number 5. If you haven't watched my last video, this is irony in its best. So yeah, so this guy is a Legends Limited unit. He is a Zenkai, so he is definitely not the most free-to-play unit around. But if you do have him at Zenkai 7 and at 7 stars and actually have this Legends Limited unit, he is just phenomenal. So for the first 15 timer counts, he is kind of in his base form, but the moment he transforms, that's when everything kind of explodes. This dude fits on so many teams for Just Try to Surpass Me and other events like that. Whether you want to put him on a Super Saiyan team, you can do that, by the way. He gets buffed by Bardock. That's right. That's already one thing better than what the Super Saiyan 2 Trunks can do. On top of that, he's got a blue card that counters once he's transformed, so that's really, really solid. Another thing that he's got that already helps him above the Trunks is that his green card regains some Vanish Gauge back. That is exceptional, especially in actually any format in general. Being able to reset anything to neutral, especially in player versus environment events, is extremely useful, as it lets you reset, recalibrate, and then recontinue your combos without getting punished, and that's just overall solid. On top of that, his secondary main ability does give him the ability to draw another blue card, in which then he can just launch that and, deal damage to the AI, so that's just really, really solid. I can't really say a reason why I would say that's a bad thing. He's just overall phenomenal. On top of that, he does synergize with the number 10 and number 9 spots on this list, so they will buff him too. And here's what I say. If you can get buffed by both Bardock and the 2 other units, you're really good in my book. And his stats are just crazy. The only thing to really look out for is the fact that, he doesn't heal. So if you don't have a team healer, then he's stuck with whatever health he has. But on top of that, and to counteract that, he's got a insane last man standing ability that just puts him over the edge and just makes him insane. And as a result, he has to be a number 5. He's just too good to not be there. And at number 4, we have a non-Super Saiyan. So who could it be? It's Zenkai 7 Super Saiyan Blue Goku. And he's linear. But that's a good thing. And especially in player versus environment, his linearity is going to be, well, great for us. So why is he also above Super Saiyan 2 Trunks? Well, it's very simple, in fact. His abilities constantly buff him as he keeps on attacking. He also regains key recovery whenever he attacks. So that's really nice. And on top of that, he's got the ability to, heal himself. So you can abuse that. He has teams that can also heal him if he needs it. So overall, he's just solid. Also, he synergizes with the very first 2 units on this list, just like anyone else on this list. And as a result, this guy is just insane. Top of that, he can regain his Vanish Gauge completely, has an ult card that hits like a truck, and finally, on top of all of that, has solid defenses for the first 45 timer counts, and then once that goes away, beast mode is unleashed, and he gets card draw speed, extra damage, and is just overall insane. So whether he fits on a God Key team, whether you decide to make a God Key hybrid team, whether you decide whatever, this dude is just overall hitting as if he were last man standing, even if he's not. And on top of that, if he is last man standing unit, well, he's still doing as effective damage after the first 45 timer counts than when he's not in the first 45 timer counts, or at least then, but with the team. So as a result, you really can't go wrong with this unit. That balancedness, that ability to heal, and that overall ability to regain Vanish Gauge to dodge again when things get rough is just exceptional. And as a result, I can't put him below Trunks. It's just not possible. This guy is just insane and clears things so fast and isn't reliant on the death or the life of a unit, which just makes him overall even more versatile than the number 5 spot on this list, Nameku. But if I had to say anything that is a downside realistically, is that A, and only A, it takes 45 timer counts for his defenses to go away, so he can be more damage dealing. And in PvE, that's a little annoying. It does help when when you make mistakes, but overall, if you're not making mistakes, that's a little bit of a detriment and takes a little time for him to really ramp up, which is annoying. But otherwise, just a solid unit and definitely deserving of the number 4 spot on this list. And at number 3, we have Zenkai 7 Super Gogeta. And yeah, this unit is absurd. He is just insane. And he does get featured a lot in Just Try to Surpass Me videos. Not mine, but he should. And I maybe should show him off because he's insane. He's absolutely just bonkers. So what does this dude do? Well, for the first 15 timer counts, or maybe it was 10, doesn't matter. For 10 to 15 timer counts, this dude gets card draw speed up already. So yes, he's a Rising Rush simulator, farming simulator guy. He is the guy that generally is showcased to do the standing eye menacing drift. So basically where you don't drift forward, in fact, you just stand there menacingly and then attack again. And you gain Vanish Gauge, you get more cards in your hand because of card draw speed, and just overall is insane because of that. On top of that, each time he throws a strike or blast card, he buffs his damage, so he stacks. It does go away eventually, but if you keep doing that, then he just keeps stacking and he does more damage. On top of that, he's got a blue card that it has the chance to feint the opponent, so yeah. Then he's also got a decent green card. It's not as effective here, but it can be used effectively, which if you activate it, it locks for 3 seconds your opponent's blast cards. But on top of that, if they happen to tap attack you or try to strike attack you, you can just counter them and then begin to barrage them with insane amounts of damage. So that's really, really good. On top of that, this dude's got a main ability that not only heals him, but gets him an ultimate card that hits really hard. Did I mention he synergizes with the first 2 units on this list and Super Saiyan Bardock? Yeah. This guy is absurd. People always like to compare him at like the Zenkai 7 Android 18. So if you don't know what she does, well, yeah, he gets compared to her as the red counterpart of her. So as a result, like, this dude is insane. Not saying he's as good as her, but I am saying getting compared to someone like that is an honor. And as a result, in player versus environment events, he'll just destroy things. And at number 2, we have... Oh, would you look at that? Hi, welcome back, Transforming Green Goku Black. Yeah, this dude, he's back. And he's back. He's on my list again. Why is he number 2 and not number 1 or not lower down on this list? And why is he not a Super Saiyan? Let me explain. If you've ever thought of Zenkai but without a Zenkai and you would be afraid to see a guy get a Zenkai, it's this dude. This dude is scary, okay? With a Zenkai, he would be maybe too much. So without a Zenkai, well, he's already too much. So what does he do? Well, he first off is a future unit, so he synergizes extremely well with the bottom unit, the bottom 2 units, even more so than some of these units on this list. He doesn't synergize with Bardock, but who needs him when you can have other units on this list? He synergizes well with Whis, and he also synergizes well with Deborah. So if you want to have green card galore, and I am actually being serious, you could actually do this and beat Just Try to Surpass Me events. I personally like it when you have him with, the Death Han, and then maybe either Deborah or Whis. But that's just me, and that's how I like to play, because I do like that card draw speed, so when he does get extra card draw speed, it's even faster. You can just fish for Dragon Balls a lot faster, and potentially throw 3 to 4 Rising Rushes on average, instead of the 2 to 3 on average that you get in Just Try to Surpass Me's. Sometimes you can throw 5, although at that point, you've been taking too long, so, there's that. But that's not a bad thing, actually. In fact, the fact that he has the ability to transform, and the fact that all of his cards are just generally extremely useful, just makes him a very versatile unit in a format like Just Try to Surpass Me or Ultra Space Time Rush or any player versus environment events. This dude is just overall insane. You don't usually use his defensive buffs as much as his offensive buffs, but that's not much of a problem since his green card not only heals him, but gives him extra cards in his hand just by using it and replaces cards in his hand. He's got a main ability that heals him and first transforms him. Then you got a main ability that heals him and transforms him. Or maybe it was the other way around, or maybe it's both. I can't tell anymore. It's just too much. This guy does too much, okay? Like, I could probably double check. You know what? In fact, I'm just going to double check right now, and I'll be right back. So yeah, I'm back, and so when he first transforms, heals, and then when he transforms again, redraws a whole new set of hand. Awesome. Yeah, he's really good. The only downside to this dude is he has to transform first, but he can more utilize that ability in something like player versus environment and PvP than he can in co-op, so that's already a fantastic boon to him anyways. And on top of that, once transforms, he just hits like a truck. It's just insane. He's a combo master. He can just pretty much continue until either the AI is dead or you decide to switch because you maybe need an extra buff here or there or something. But overall, he's just got so many teams. He's got so many ways to synergize that overall, this unit has to be at least number 2 on this list. And like I mentioned in the other video, if we had to do a list of all units that culminate throughout every mode, he would definitely be taking the number 1 spot on that list for sure. So, with that being said, let's move on to our number 1 unit on this list. But once again, before we do that, we have to talk about honorable mentions. Yes! Sorry, Wall. So honorable mentions. There's a lot. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to mention like a few, get you an idea. And when I mean a few, I just mean like Legends Limited characters or alternatively specific tags, like teams, generally speaking, when I think of like Ultra Space Time Rush or Just Try to Surpass Me events, I think of the most optimal units or meta teams, as you will. So things like Purple Hit, Android 21 Good, or Android 21 Zenkai 7, or alternatively Super Gogeta transforming the blue one, or just generally speaking, any Zenkai. Most Zenkai units, if not all, and a lot of Legends Limited characters can definitely do these events. Even things like Rival Universe can do well. It's just that one of the things that these units all have in common is that as much as they can do well because they synergize well within their core, they're not always, I would say, optimal, just like these units are, and they're not always as effective and as utilized. These are definitely on my top 10, the most popular units to be using for these events, but it does not mean that these are the only units that can be successful in these particular events. It just means that these units do see a lot more usage, and as a result, it's usually because they are more effective. But despite that, let's now move on to our number one unit, and you may be surprised at who it is. Or maybe not. Depends if you watch my videos or not, usually. And at number one, we have, drumroll please, Zenkai 7, Legends Road, transforming Trunks. And this dude, yeah, he is, in one word, insane. Absolutely insane. I don't know how to describe this dude other than if you've ever wanted a unit to melt the AI, even more so than any other unit on this list, he's the guy. Now, he's number one for a very specific reason on this list. First off, he synergizes extremely well with the very first two units on this list. He's a future unit. He is a transforming unit, so he gains extra damage and extra health buff and extra everything as soon as that transformation occurs. And on top of that, when he transforms, he's a Super Saiyan. So that's right, he can mesh extremely well with Super Saiyan Zenkai 7 Bardock, or even just the base Super Saiyan Bardock. It doesn't matter if he's Zenkai or not. It doesn't actually matter. That's insane. But even on top of that, his kit specifically is designed to work with the Death Han, or any Gohan for that matter. So as a result, he gets buffs if a Gohan is dead and a Gohan is alive. So that's right, you can run him on a Gohan Trunks Gohan team for optimal buffs in those kit areas, or alternatively, you can take half of that and say, I want this Death Han dead, but I want to mix him with Bardock, so you can do that too. Alternatively, if you have to do whatever said requirement that Just Try to Surpass Me is throwing at you, you can do Death Han, just him, and whatever throwaway unit you want, because this guy on his own is more than enough and more than capable of decimating his opponents. And I actually mean decimate. On top of that, he's got a main ability after he's transformed that heals him, gives him another blue card, and he's just overall insane. Passives are insane, his damage is insane once the Death Han dies. He's just overall insane, and the fact that once he transforms, he becomes a Super Saiyan means that Bardock is giving him crit rate up, so it's overall insane. His only real downside is that if you're not using Death Han or some sort of form of buffing for him, he's not as potent, for sure, and as a result isn't as remarkable as some of these other units stand alone. But, you know, the fact that Death Han just has to die for him to always be remarkable is already a great boon to him, and if you decide to go the critical rate plus Death Han route, he can literally, if you get double crit, two-shot some of these Just Try to Surpass Me units. Two-shot them. Just let that sink in. And fun fact, the only other unit that can really two-shot units, or one-shot a unit, is the Nameku guy, so with his blue card specifically. So as a result, I feel like it's more than fair to say that this dude deserves to be the number one spot on this list, and is my most used unit in Just Try to Surpass Me events, and also, by the way, because I just have to toot it, he's free to play. And his event is out currently, so if you don't have him, go get him. And if you don't have Death Han, get more Master Pack 2 or 3 tickets. I don't remember which tickets they're in, but he's there, so you can just get him there. So, and after that, just learn the drift, and boom, you've got a top-tier unit for player versus environment events that can just destroy everything. But only in player versus environments. Please don't take him into PvP. It's not that good anymore, so yeah. But that being said, those are my top 10 units on this list. If you have any disagreements, any at all, let me know down in the comments below. And, you know, make sure to be civil with me, because if you're civil, I'll be civil. Treat me the way you want to be treated. I don't really care. Any comments you make will be put into the YouTube algorithm, and I'll just very much enjoy it. Any dislikes or likes you give me will also be added to the YouTube algorithm. So you're just helping me no matter what you do. But with that being said, guys, that's the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't hesitate to tickle the like button if you haven't already, subscribe, and click the bell for more notificaciones so you never miss another one of my videos. Have yourselves a salty day, and I will see you in the next video.
Thanks for stopping by. Hope you had a time, Phil G. Phil G.